Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to all welcome you warmly to Contemporary Music Centre's CPD Series 2. Our first series was in July this year, and this is a follow-up winter season, if you like. And Conor O'Boyle is going to give us a session on Logic Pro X. I just want to tell you a little bit about Conor first, to say that he did his initial music degree in Newcastle, but then, I suppose slightly unusually, he did his master's in Windmill Lane, which is a recording studio made famous by U2 here in Dublin. And as he described it himself, I mean, you learn from the pages in the books in universities, and in where he went, you sort of learn, it's like almost like a sound lab or a practical. And it's instead of talking about it in theory, you do it in practice. So it sounded absolutely fascinating. And if I had any talent at all, I'd be signing up to it, Conor. But the good news is that we have you available to help us all out. We've had many, many questions, which is fantastic. So Conor's going to first give a presentation, and then at the end of that, I'll field the questions. And after the questions that were submitted in advance, we'll open it to the floor. Anybody who has subsequent questions from Conor's answers to their original question submitted, please feel free to pipe in and clarify things with him. And it's a very easygoing session, all of these sessions. Nobody stands on ceremony, so please don't hesitate to put something in the chat function or raise your real hand or your, I would say, fake hand on the screen. So look, delighted to see you all here today. And Conor O'Boyle, I'm going to hand the floor over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda. That was very nice. Thanks everybody for coming. This is overwhelming. I expected maybe 5 or 6 people. Didn't expect it to be as successful as it seems to have become. So yeah, my name is Conor. I'm from Derry, as I said before. So if my accent is unclear, you can maybe type "what was that" into the chat, and I'll try to go back and repeat myself or speak as clearly as I can. I don't know what the general level is here. So could I just get a general consensus? Has anybody here not used this program before? You maybe just put a hands up in the chat or a thumbs up or something. Emma, so Anne, absolutely nothing. Everyone else seems to be, I understand fully. Okay. Okay, so 2 people say they have never used this before. How many people would say that they are comfortable with it? Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm just gonna whiz through it then at the beginning for just the people who have very little experience, and if everyone else can just hold tight, we might get to something a bit more interesting at that point. If anybody has any questions along the way, feel free to type them. I have the little chat here running, so I can see what's coming in as well. So I'm going to share my screen, and this is going to be very on the fly, if that's okay. So can everybody see my screen, what I have here? Oh wait, did I share the sound? Well, I might have to redo that. All right, one more time. How can I stop?
We can hear and see.
No, the sound coming from Logic.
Oh.
Share computer sound. There we go. Now you should get my sound. Okay, so here is a little session that I've sort of put together. And it's a recreation of Ravel, the Pavan. Is that the pronunciation, Linda?
Yes, Pavan.
The Pavan for the Sleeping Princess I've created here. This is just these principles can apply to anything. It could be Michael Jackson, it could be Slipknot, it could be anything you want. The principles are the same. The only difference is I'm using MIDI entirely here. I'm not using any audio for this. So Logic, for those who don't know, this is what it looks like. You've got sort of different designation of sections. So you don't see that at the beginning. You do see this at the beginning. It's sort of more like this. If you can see, it's smaller. So I would always click here on this little drop down arrow and just choose custom. Gives you more information. It's nothing too exciting, but it's just cleaner. I like it. When you set up Logic, it comes in its baby form. And there's a lot of it that is disabled. Okay, so you might want to go in and activate that. You go up to the top left here, and you click Logic. You go to Preferences, and you have just general preferences here, and then you want to go to Recording. No, you don't want to go to Recording. You want to go to Advanced. That's where you want to go. Advanced, and just enable. These are all disabled when you start Logic for the first time, and you want to just check them all because it's if you need to see the score, for example, or editing MIDI in real time, editing audio. It's just generally a good idea. Okay, moving on. When you originally open up Logic, you will be greeted with a chat box that looks like this. And here you have your options to choose your software instrument, which is what all these are. These are all software instruments, or your real instrument. So if you want to plug in a guitar or a piano, a piano but a microphone to record violins or whatever, you want to go there. You hit Create, and you will see it appear here. So this is just drop down. I'll drag it down here. You see Audio 2. Now this is recognizing it as audio. Okay. If anybody wants me to demo this, I can plug a guitar in and show it to you. Anybody want to see that? No. I don't have the chat here. 1 second. Where is Zoom? Where's my chat window? Oh, here it is. Okay, so no one in the chat wants to see that. Okay. Moving on. Some general shortcuts on the keyboard are good to know. You can actually buy a little cover for the keyboard that has all of the shortcuts mapped onto it, which is really fun. I spent hours learning them. Or you can go onto Google and type in Logic Pro keyboard commands, and you just print off the page and stick it beside you, so you see what you have. So G is the global tracks command. You hit G and you get this drop down menu, and here is your sort of basic music parameters. If you're having a song, for example, you can click arrangement, and it gives you things like your intro, your verse, things like that, right? Whoops, I just deleted an entire section of my music. How do I get rid of Command Z? Command Z. There we go. And your marker, these are like for things, interesting hits or, notes that you want to make to yourself. You hit that and you can, revisit this, whatever. And you have this as like a little note section. I do use it quite frequently as well. And here is your time signature and key signature here, which is also I can't see, the key signature is not marked here. You can click here, and it does give you the key. No, it doesn't give you the key anymore. It used to give you the key. They changed it recently with the latest update, and I'm still learning all of the little intricacies of the new thing. So your keys here. So it's telling me it's in C. It's not in C. I don't really. If you're dealing with audio, you're not really notating things, so the key doesn't really matter. And then here's your tempo. My tempo for this piece is all over the place. I will talk about why that is in a second. But here, where the piece ends, you just have one consistent tempo, which is what you will get always at 120. I think it starts at a general when you open it from default. And I have an extra setting here called beat mapping, which we might get into later. That's not in the original setup. It's just the 4 here. If you right click, you can access more things. Like if you have a movie window, or if you're writing music for films or anything. Transposition, I have never used that in my life, nor do I know anyone who has used it, because you just do it in the audio file window, or play it in the right way. Okay, to your left is Apple's sound library, where they have all of their instruments. This doesn't really apply to the digital instruments. So if I go back in here to my little plus and I choose software instrument and I create that, it gives me the selection of all of Logic's stock instruments. So for example, I can go and select the bass, and if you want, you can Command K, gives you a typing keyboard. If you can hear this, I'm now playing my keyboard. A. Okay, makes sense. So again, you can just change that to anything, different types of basses, piano samples. If you want to get in and talk about what they actually are, we can get into that, but I'm going to breeze on by it for now. There might be a little point to talk about what the actual instruments are. In the middle, between this section, where is your actual arrangement window, the instrument windows. In here is your track, your as if it was a mixing desk, right? It's the it has a name, and I can't remember what the name is now. There's somewhere it tells me. It's in my PowerPoint. Anyways, this is replicating your mixer window, which if you hit the Command X, you will get your mixer window right here. So it's a desk, and this is emulating, so your basic channel strip. That's it. That's the one I'm looking for. Channel strip. You've got your fader here with a volume. You've got your effects plugins here, and you've got your pan left or right here. EQ windows, which if you click the EQ window, that is effectively a plugin. So you click on that and you get your Logic stock EQs. Cool. Okay. That applies globally to everything. It doesn't really change. So that was a whirlwind. At the top here, you've got your play, pause things, but the space bar is your play. You have your record here, which is the shortcut R. So if I want to click on the audio, for example, I've got my guitar, I'm ready to go. I just hit the R, and it gives me a countdown. I don't know how many bars this is counting in, but there you go, right? So it starts to record. Over here to your right is the metronome. Oh, this is the tuner, sorry. You can tuner DI direct input into your guitar. So you've got a guitar or a violin, you want to tune it up, you can do it with this tuner, which is just this little icon here, the fork. These ones this is solo, just it's the same as this S right here, solo. Over here is your metronome. So you want to click a metronome on. I don't know if anyone can hear that metronome. It's quite low. Metronome settings. What I did there was I right-clicked it, went to metronome settings, and you can choose your click notes. So if you want the first beat to be accented, then you can give it like a fifth, something like that, or you can change the velocity, the volume. So here you might hear it now. Right, you got that, the metronome. And then it subdivides down by beats, and you can have it in eighth notes, quarter notes. Unfortunately, I don't think you can change it. I don't think you can change it, so I don't think it can go quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, eighth, 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 eighth. You might need to program that in yourself with a MIDI or something. Channel panel. Channel. Oh yeah, what that was called? Yeah, no, channel strip is the name of this thing. Anyways, so that is a quick introduction to the general interface. Anybody got any questions about what I just said? That was very fast. Trying to see. Everybody's okay. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
mute, anybody who wants to ask a question, unmute yourself and just sort of pipe up because people are still joining. So Conor, do you have more sort of to say, or will we right to the questions now?
Well, that was my spiel for the people who have never experienced Logic before.
Yeah. So I think then, so I'm going to act as kind of agony aunt because I've been receiving all the wonderful questions. And so Conor, I will read out so that everybody can hear it. The first question. Anselm MacDonald had 3 questions. Question number 1, I've used Logic's EXS24 and ES2 synth creators to make my own synths, etc. But there are so many options and I have a limited understanding of what I'm doing or what I'm changing when I move the dials around, etc. There's a lot of options and a quick description of what things do, etc. would be wonderful.
So yeah. Okay, so Anselm, I'm looking at you here. This is an absolute black hole of madness, of which I don't fully understand. I have prepared a supplementary presentation, PowerPoint presentation, that you're all going to get emailed after this, and it has everything I just did in a sort of more concise and elegant form. So for the people who have no experience with this. And Anselm, I have taken the ES2 and I've done a little sort of map of it. So there's like boxes circling things and then arrows describing what those things do. So you'll get that, which is really clear and really, I think it summarizes everything well. And then at the end, I've put a link to, there's a great YouTube. It's like an hour long of a guy going into like serious detail of the synthesis and the things that each thing does. But anyways, we'll have a look at it now. The EXS24, I think that has now been integrated into either, is it Alchemy or one of the samplers, or is it the retro synth? They've called it something new now, so it's actually not there anymore. So I'm just going to focus on the ES2, if that's okay, just so I'm not spending the next 40 minutes on this. So same deal. You go to your plus window here, and you choose your software instrument because that's what it is. And then you go, it's not actually, it doesn't live here. It lives in the instrument section here. You drop down and it gives you all of Logic synths, right? Which they're actually extremely powerful. They're really good. So here is the ES2 and it looks insane. It does look insane. So basically what you're looking at here is 3 different, three different instruments, right? You've got instrument 1 here, instrument 2 here, instrument 3 here. And each one you can designate a different waveform. So they're all the different typical waves, your sine wave, sawtooth wave. No, what's that? Triangle wave? Can't remember what that one's called. That one's sawtooth. That one's square. Square with a shortened up pulse. And this is another thing that's mad. He talks about this FM carrier in the video. I don't know if this is double Dutch to you or not, but sine wave is the simplest type of wave. So if I just bring up my keyboard again, sorry, I have to turn these ones off. So if you just click the 2 and the 3, these windows close, and now you're dealing with just one tone, right? One sine wave. And then here is a detuner, so you can tune it in cents. Right, got it. Here is a more analog sound. The digital synthesis tries to emulate analog synthesizers, which they have the ability to glissando, like a violin. They can get all of the tones between the notes. These ones operate on binary digits, so they can't. So they try to fake it, which is what that analog does. Then, so if you imagine it as like a signal flow, this is your raw signal. This passes through the filter.
Sorry, Connor, if I could just interrupt you, could you make that window? Could you make the synthesizer window bigger so we can see what you're changing?
Is this
and
good enough?
Right, yes, that's great. And Ryan's posted something in the chat.
Yes.
Sorry, this is gonna take, but
Ryan has his hand up and has posted something in the chat, but we'll just have to move on various.
Yeah, this is what this Logic session could be every week for the next 4 years. It's that much stuff in here. I get the impression of Connor. Okay, I will double back to the actual Logic workflow and things. There are some questions regarding that, which will take us back to this question from Ryan. So very quickly, if you imagine that these, as you move left upwards until this one, you're just introducing more overtones. So the sound gets thicker and it gets grittier. So sine wave is obviously your purest tone. Then the next one, it gives you a bit more overtones, etc. Right? You can add more voices in up here. 32 is the max. Then, so if you imagine it moves, this triangle here is the balance of the three sounds, right? So now it's just giving me an even combination of the three, but I can move it, if I want 60% more one, or so it's sort of like a balance between the three sounds if you have all three playing simultaneously, that is. And then this is your filter. In fact, there's actually two filters here. This one is in parallel, which means that it goes through filter 1 first, then filter 2, then goes out into your effects, okay? If you want, you can flip it, which I can rotate. How do I rotate this thing now? There is a way to rotate this, and I can't remember how to do it. Ugh. I don't use this one myself. Is it this? No. This does rotate. That video that I attached goes through this. So it can go vertical, which is what it is now, and it can go horizontal. So it passes through the two filters simultaneously, as opposed to one then two, right? So it's just affects signal flow. That's all that does. And then here on the right hand side is sort of like an effects processor, right? You've got choruses, flangers, you volume. This is like a master volume tone, and then this sine level is just like another. If you want to beefing up like a bass tone, it'll just put another sine tone underneath your three here. Okay, so that's what that is. The technical term for these is oscillators. If you're interested, here this middle bracket is yeah. Might be useful to know that if a quick help is turned on. Yeah. So there's a great little comment there for people. There's actually like a guide that tells you what everything is in Logic. So this little section here is your area where you can direct signal flow to effects in this section. So you can choose your target. So this is now on pitch 1, 2, 3, which means that the effect that I send this to will be applied to all three oscillators, right? So I don't have any 2 or 3 activated here, so I'm just going to go pitch 1. So now it's targeted as pitch 1. It's going to send it via something, which I don't want, so I'm just going to turn that off for now. And then it's going to tell me where the source is. I'm going to send it to LFO2, which is to your right here. LFO1 is this one. LFO2 is good because it is controlled by it can sync to the tempo of the track, so it locks in if you're using arpeggiators or stuff. One does not, so it can be sort of more less if you want that more human sound where it doesn't follow straight to click, then that would be 1. If you want it to be to click, it would be 2, obviously, right? So I'm going to send this to the LFO here. And then I can just choose this one. And how do I change what this is doing now? How do I assign this something? I'm not 100% sure. I don't use this synth. I use a different synth. But
Connor, just to ask so that we don't spend all our time on this. So basically, there's 3 levels to this, and what you're doing is with the middle bar, you're sending something through from the top to the bottom. So that you can
exactly. And then this is your attack, decay, sustain, release aspects of it. So here, this is the global one. You want envelope 3. So if I click on this, it gives me a short attack. Whereas if I want more of a lead in, I'll just increase that attack, and I'll get that sort of, like a crescendo-y sort of thing. And the same with the decay, and then the sustain and the release, those aspects of sound. That's as much as I'm willing to jump into. I hope that has some way answered the question. But the video that I have attached in the file is wonderful. It really is great.
Conor, I'm going to jump in now because just one of the things, nobody knows what level people are at when they sign up, and we make it open to everybody. And we don't say it's an advanced course or it's introduction because you don't know who's going to ride. But I think I'm going to do one of two things. Either ask Ryan Malloy to put on his sound and sort of say where you would like this to go in terms of more basic introduction. And then I'm going to move on to the other questions. The reason I started with Anselm's is he put them in several days ago, so Conor was able to deal with them. The other questions, which may be more pedestrian than Anselm's, I can actually get straight onto them, and we can end with the other 2 of Anselm's questions. That's proposal. So Ryan, if you want to just put on your, unmute yourself and just say, do you want us to go back to a general introduction, or should I go forward to the other questions?
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I don't mean to sound completely thick, but when I just got the impression that Conor hadn't got to the end of just showing us what he wanted us to show before we launched into the questions and answers. So like some of the basic stuff that we went through is stuff I think that we can, you kind of find out whenever you just open the program, is you learn the bits and bobs of navigation. And I kind of was hoping that he maybe just could continue what he had maybe intended to do, and just show us some of those other workflow things that maybe make the use of the program a bit more efficient, rather than, I mean, I know you can learn kind of from the quick help in the program, but it's just getting that extra bit of help from someone that uses the program regularly to tell you these things that you wouldn't find out yourself necessarily.
Okay, I guess that's why, no, Ryan, I guess what you're saying is that's why we called it a clinic in a way. People were to put in their questions, and some of the questions are about workflow, Ryan, but that is what he had prepared. And it was just to give time for people's specific questions and just to have literally a quick intro. So I guess you're sort of,
I mean, I didn't mean to interject or anything like that, but I was just, because I mean, I didn't send any questions as you know. But it just kind of, it felt very quick, so I was wondering if there was something else there, but if there's not, absolutely, I'll reverse it.
No, Ryan, it's very helpful because it's explaining that he was just literally doing a whistle stop tour and then dealing with the questions. So Anselm's, as I said, are a bit more advanced, and he put them in days ago. So I'm going to move on to some of the other questions, and hopefully they will be the types of questions that would be asked. And please feel free to ask any more, guys. Then we'll end with Anselm's 2 questions. So Fergus Johnston had asked, when one is moving regions with varying time signatures, how does one ensure that the time signatures are moved with the regions?
Okay, so this is actually not that complicated. So I'm just gonna imagine that other section of material doesn't exist, and this is your fresh page. This is what a fresh page looks like. Imagine that all these instruments aren't there either. You just have one, and your starting signature is 4/4, right? So your signature, click this plus, and then so you're now. Did I click that? I did not click that. I was in 4/4 already. That's why it's not it's not giving me a new 4/4, right? So imagine this says 4/4 here, and we're going to move from there, right? So you're in 4/4, and then I want to introduce 2 bars later. Let's say a 5/4 measure. and then again, I want to take it back to 4/4. Okay, so imagine this happens fairly regularly, and you have some material here. So I'm just gonna quickly just throw some stuff in here. I don't know what, doesn't really make sense, but okay, whatever this is. So there's some material here, and this is now a bar of 5 and then a bar of 4. How do you move this whole thing together, right? You click on your material, you shift, which is the little arrow, and you click on the time signature and on the other time signature that you want to move, and you just drag them. Well, drag this one should work. Yeah, so you drag the material, and the whole thing should go with it. My session is a bit weird at the minute because of the material that's in it, but if you do this in a fresh session, it will work. Okay, that is how it's done.
Now, I'll ask Fergus if he's any further questions, but before that, Fergus put into the chat line that for Logic beginners, it might be useful to know that that quick help is turned on.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Then a cursor is hovered over a feature. A little window opens up and tells you what the feature is. And if you want more help, click Command / and detailed help magically opens with loads of info about that feature. So that's very helpful. Thanks, Fergus. And is that explanation okay for you? Do you have any further questions, Fergus?
Yeah, well, I was actually doing that, and I was finding that other aspects of, because I was working kind of with a can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I was working with a kind of a collage kind of a technique, and I found that the other pieces that had similar time signature changes were being messed up.
What the other?
No, I mean, I was using the time. What do you call it? The the wind. On the right hand side, there's the what do you call it?
But this loops, the loop section here.
No? Well, yeah, but not the loops. That one on the left hand side of the
this
right.
One here. On the left hand side.
Left. No, on the left of the right.
Oh, okay. There. This one here.
No, just to the left of that one. So you
okay.
got all your. You get all your tempo. You got your tempo and your signature things there, and I found that they were getting all messed up.
Oh, this is your events list, right? So this is just telling you the events that happen as they happen.
Yeah, you got event marker, tempo, signature, and
yeah, but that's still that's just telling you the events as they go, right? So if I just like look on the signature, for example, it'll just
there's the two you put in there, 36 and 37.
Yeah. So it just cycles through them. When that's all this is. It's just telling you that the events are happening.
Yeah, I remember having a problem with that. I'll check it again and see.
Well, that's how it's done. Is you just click on the file, click on the
simple.
shift click on the signature and on the other signature.
Okay.
And then drag the thing, and the whole thing should move along with it. There's just things that are happening on the other side of this project, which is making it all weird. If I open up a new project, it'll be perfectly on the downbeats.
Okay.
Yeah. An alternative thing, just sorry, 1 second. An alternative thing, if you wanted, you can add in time. So say you were like, I would like 2 bars of 4 in here to just to separate it, or 4 bars of 4. You can go up to edit here and click insert time, and then it says insert silence. So it'll just insert more bars of silence. Right. So sorry, don't add that. I don't want to mess up this project because I want to come back to it. Oh, whoops! I did something mental there. All right, we're back. Command Z is amazing. All right, moving on.
Now, there was a quick question in the chat about guitar, Conor. It said the person doesn't have camera, and they were wondering, what setup do you have, and what low, middle, and high budget interfaces would you recommend?
Right. So this is in the PowerPoint. I have my interface there. I use a Sapphire Pro and have done for years. Sapphire Focusrite is the company that makes it. I'm going to upgrade next year, but it has served me faithfully and reliably for the longest time. I'm also looking to move back to more analog sounds with an actual amplifier and microphones. But you can DI in, so guitar, a cable into the guitar, into the interface, and so the usual setup. You click the plus here. I don't select guitar or bass because it comes with a whole bunch of pre-existing, preloaded effects and things. So I like to choose from time to time depending on what I want. So I just click audio again, create, and then here I go to your electric guitar, and then you have a bunch of options here. Clean guitar, again, a whole bunch of stuff. You can say this Brit clean thing. And then you can click, where is the editor? So here in this section where the effects are, you have like a pedal board, which a whole bunch of emulations of cool guitar effects pedals, phasers, flangers, reverbs, delays, things like that. Again, you can choose your amplifier. They've got loads of really cool amps. You can choose the type of microphone you want. I think it's a large diaphragm condenser, not a ribbon mic here. So I can choose, a condenser microphone. I can change, the different types. They can't name them because of legal reasons. So they have these sort of stylistic names. Small tweed combo, which is just I think it's an old Fender cab or something here. And then you can change the cab and change the ribbon. Change the position of the ribbon here. So it's really cool and it's really effective. When it's in a mix, it's indistinguishable from the real thing these days. And then there's a whole bunch of third parties, really great companies that make fantastic emulations. They've actually you couldn't tell the difference, to be honest, between the analog stuff and the real stuff. There's some stuff of that in the PowerPoint as well.
Okay, I will be distributing the PowerPoint to everybody at the end. And Mary Barnicat put in a series of short questions, so I'm going to skip through them one at a time, Conor. She says the most simple way to isolate, she wants to know these things. What is the most simple way to isolate and auto-tune one note from an acoustic recording?
All right. Okay. So if the recording is single notes, like a melody, it's relatively simple. If the recording is a chord, like a guitar chord, like that, that's very difficult to do. And that's sort of go do a degree in studio production if you want to learn how to do that one. So I'm just going to answer it as if it's a clean melody, like you're playing a violin line or something. What you do is, so I'm just going to take a melody here. This is another really cool technique. So I'm going to take this this flute line here. Right, here's the MIDI. And if you click on it and go up to File and Bounce Track in Place, it will convert that track to an audio file on the spot. So that's what's going to happen now. There's a command for that, which eludes me at present. Unfortunately, it has to do the whole session, which will take a minute. It's better to do it as audio rather than as MIDI, because obviously you don't really need to tune MIDI because it's always perfect. If the recording of the MIDI is perfect, that is, which is not always. I have found intonation problems with some things. So now my flute melody is an audio file, if you can see here. Well, it's not my flute melody, it's Ravel's flute melody. Okay, so imagine this. So I'm looking at so I'm hearing the audio file, but looking at the MIDI file, right? Which is the equivalent of looking at music notation. If you want to see the score, it's here. Probably badly notated because Logic is not good at that. Okay, so if I want to tune one of these notes, right? Let's just say that I sang it. This was a line that was sung or played on violin, and there was a slight intonation problem. There are two ways to do it. One is better than the other. Yeah, Control B. Okay, thanks. What you can do is you can move from here to the audio. Okay, so I'm now in the audio editor. It's not the MIDI editor. And here, this little guy, it looks like a sideways what do you call those, sand timer clock things, which is Logic's flex function, which has a lot of sub functions. So turn on flex. Okay, and now it's analyzing my transients. This is flex time. I don't want that because I'm dealing with pitch. I want to go flex pitch. Okay, so now it's going to reanalyze and it's going to find all of the notes. Okay, you see this? So again, these notes are all perfect because it was generated from MIDI. But there's an option here, pitch correction. So I just raise that up as much as I am willing to tolerate. If it's with a voice, I would not go 100% because then you sound like, I don't know, T-Pain or someone. You won't get that that like digitized audio tune, but it'll just be so perfect that it won't sound natural. And then these little lines that hover in the middle, this is the vibrato and things like that, which also can be edited with these little dots here. You see them? So I can sort of navigate. If I want, say someone was going, something a bit over the top, and I want to take some of those out, I can do that. Okay. Again, this is not a solution. Get it right in the recording, and don't do that. That's my advice. Does that answer the question? Sorry. The other way to do it is with a better plugin called Melodyne. So it's made by a company called Ceremony, and the process is exactly the same. All right, but this is just a better algorithm that does the same thing.
So Conor, Mary has a few questions and they're all relatively short, so I'll skip through them without giving Mary a chance first to come back at them, because otherwise I get bogged down. Okay. So how can you put effects on a section of a track without creating a whole new track for it?
Yes. Okay. So this is your automation, which again in the PowerPoint I touch on briefly. So and this also goes. Anselm has a question that's similar to this too, which might be worth tackling at the same time. Imagine I am applying effects. No, Melodyne is not free. No, unfortunately, you got to pay for it. There is okay. So imagine there's an effect on here, right? I'm going to put on a delay, right? So some sort of echo here, right? Okay, just default. I'll just go for there. Okay, that's a sort of a default thing, right? So I wanna just have a section. Say I want this to happen from bar 2 to bar 3. Okay, what I do is I click on this guy. This is the flex time one that we just looked at. The one to the left of it is automation. Okay, so I click on the automation, and now this is telling me I'm automating volume, right? So I can, if I want it to fade out, or if I wanted to, have a section that's louder, I can automate the volume as it goes. But I don't want to do that. I want to automate this particular effect. So I drop down and I find that I have got echo here. So now it's giving me the parameters of the echo, right? So I can affect different aspects of the echo itself. I just want to affect the amount of echo that I send to it. I don't want to affect any of the parameters in the echo. I just want how much echo I send. So that's the wet option. And now it's showing me here. So I've clicked on it, which brings it to life, right? So now its default seems to be 65% of the effect being sent to the track. So I'm just going to take that all the way down to 0, which means that there's no effect now. And then at this moment, you can zoom in using this guy to your left, to your right, and this takes you in closer. You want to be as precise as possible, especially with electronic music. So you get in as close as possible, and you click on the line, and you click either side of the line. So you make 2 incisions, and then you bring this up, and say I just want it to be 50%. And you try to bring that in as tight as possible, and then you take yourself back out again, so it's as clean as you can. And then at 4, you want it to stop, so you click on 4. And then you bring the incision in again, and then you bring it down. Okay, so that is, this effect will only apply now if I've done it correctly. Here. Whoops. All right, so it doesn't like it, and that was the auto tune that you heard a minute ago. That was the auto tune.
The volume is very low, Conor, I think.
Oh, sorry. Okay, let me throw a compressor on this to push it up a bit. This is don't do this as well. This is cheating. So that noise that you're hearing, that chaos, is just the effect, whatever effect I threw on it.
Conor, my colleague Jonathan Grimes from CMC put a note in the chat to say there are a lot of deals around at the moment, and he put a website in that people can see in the chat line.
Now, the go-to website for all this stuff is called Gear Sluts, with a Z. There you go. That's the place you want to go for all of the knowledge and stuff.
Great, that's even good information. I'm going to keep going with Mary's questions because and then Robbie Blake has a big question on workflow, and then I'll go back to round off Anselm's.
Okay.
And in the meantime, I'm trying to sort of field them from the chat function as well.
Okay.
Mary's next question is, tracks come out as stereo when I save them as individual WAVs.
Yeah.
Send for mixing, etc. Why? And is there a way to turn this off?
All right. Okay. This one I actually didn't know the answer to, so I had to consult a wizard friend of mine.
Oh.
So now I'm trying to find where he. Okay. So he says only export as audio file. Make sure the track is in mono channel mode, and then export. Okay. So there is an option. So if you are dealing, so I'm just going to take this automation off here. If you are dealing with an instrument, say a digital instrument, it will give you the option, if it's possible, to deal in mono or in stereo, right? So if I say, for example, I'm just going to go here and I'm going to pull up a contact, right? So an instance of contact, and here you have the option of mono and stereo. So I don't know. For some reason, I just always want to go stereo. It's a more modern sound. But say you choose mono, and then so this is now going to introduce a mono version of this instrument. The same thing I think can apply if you're dealing with audio files, not digital software instruments.
So Anselm has put into the chat function, you can change individual effects and the automation will only affect whichever effect you're editing. Although if
that's related to the previous, so when I dropped down on that one and it said echo, the more effects you put in the chain, you'll have more options to control each aspect of those effects. But the methodology is the same for every one of them, if that makes sense.
Okay. So the next question is about multiple takes. And I love this question because Mary says, I have done this by accident and don't know how, which really, appealed to me. About multiple takes, how many can each track hold and can I intersperse them with each other?
All right. I don't know how many tracks it can hold. Definitely at least 20. It's probably infinite now because there was a lot of complaints with Apple putting restrictions on the amount. So the tracks that you could have in a session used to go up to like 300 or something, and then Jacob Collier needed more, so Apple made it infinite.
I actually meant takes rather than tracks.
Okay, so I think like I said, I think it could possibly be infinite, or as much as your computer CPU and memory can hold. I'm not sure if there's definitely enough that you will ever need. I can't imagine a situation where you're having thousands of takes. Jacob Collier needs one take. Yeah, you're damn right. Okay, so
next question. I'm just trying to keep.
What was I? How many can I intersperse them with? Yeah. So the interspersing them with each other is your editing. Okay. So it's not necessarily that you can that's done after the takes are recorded, which is your editing. So you would go in and they would appear like different tracks, right? When you see them, they'll appear like this, but it'll be this different takes of the same thing. So you'll go in and go, okay, say the first bar was good. So I'm going to Command T is cut, and then Command T, the next part as well, is cut. So then you go, okay, I really like this part of one take. I'll drag that up to the file, and then go, okay, here's another take. I like this part of the other take. It mightn't be 1 bar. It might be 4 bars and then 4 bars or whatever. And then the same thing again, Command T. It's in the middle of a MIDI region. Let's do it here on this audio file. Command T, I like this, 2 bars, and then I'm just going to take that and drag it here. And then there was something about making notes move seamlessly, one of those questions.
Yes,
which is
how to join sections.
Join regions.
Join regions. Well, this is an audio and a MIDI, so it doesn't really like it. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to put this MIDI back to where it came from. I don't know where it came from now. Whatever. That's not important. So imagine this here is 2 different takes, right? That I took from one take and from another take, and they'll stack below each other. What you do is you just go up to this little tool here. Now it's on a pencil tool, but I don't want that. I want a fade tool. And then you can get into it if you want, but the more you do it, the more dab hand you get. You hit Command, which triggers the left option, and then you just drag across like this, and it gives you a beautiful little fade. So you don't hear the incision between the 2 takes. So it's like a smooth flow. Yeah, crossfades, exactly. Yeah. I hope that answers that question.
That's perfect. Thank you.
You got a thumbs up for that, Conor.
Thank you.
Now, there's one last question from Mary, because the 6th question has now already, the seamlessly question has been answered. How can you stretch a note without altering pitch?
Okay. We want to go back to the flex tool option. So if you go to your audio file, MIDI, it's easy, right? You just take the MIDI file and you just extend it out, right? And it's pretty straightforward. With audio, you go back to your pitch options. And so imagine I don't have the flex turned on again, and I'm just seeing the audio file. You click on the flex option, and now we're not going to look at pitch. Now we're going to look at rhythm. I think it's rhythm. Let me check. It's been a while since I looked at this. This doesn't always work. This is not perfect technology, and I don't really do it that much. But I imagine if you make an incision, so if you want to extend it from the end, you just take this and you drag it out, okay? Now, Logic will automatically grant, I think, will preserve the pitch integrity because it knows you don't want to alter pitch, height, speed section. So there is a little bit of learning with this, so I imagine it would be a good idea to YouTube it and get into some... maybe there's a tutorial video on this particular aspect. So this is what's gonna happen here, because I have, if I just undo what I did, right? So this part is still cemented in time, okay? So it's more noticeable the more exaggerated you make it, right? So if I just make it slightly exaggerated, it won't be that problematic. Okay, so that's not that problematic. But if I make it like sort of ridiculous, right? So I take this. What's happening is it's stretching this, but it's condensing the other part, because in this time this is solid, so this will never move. So it needs to compress whatever's left so that it hits the other time when it's supposed to. So it might go, la, it'd be really fast, and then it'll land back where it should do. But right, exactly like that, right? So this is it's a really useful tool. Like electronic musicians and stuff would use it quite a lot. But I don't have enough experience to give you any more advice than that. So the thing that you want to explore is flex time rhythmic manipulation. So there's probably loads of YouTube people dealing with that particular aspect.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Conor. We're going to now move to Robbie's. Robbie, I think, is still on the call.
Yep.
So Robbie has a question about workflow. It's
okay.
quite a detailed question. It reminds me of my questions in the law faculty, where they give you a fact pattern that goes on forever, and you're finally in the Supreme Court before you know what you're doing. So I have recently begun an editing project in Logic, which has a huge number of separate sound files.
Yeah.
The files are similar in length and style, just with slight differences. The editing process leads to a lot of scrolling up and down, and because the files all look very similar, there's a bit of disorientation. I eventually use the colors function to show separate blocks of material in the same color, so that I could see each building block in the workspace. He's wondering if there are best practices to organize a workflow visually in Logic, or are there best practices for Logic around its editing tools, specifically automation, loop function, EQ, that could be discussed.
Okay. Yeah. So workflow is a very personal thing. What works for one doesn't necessarily work for the other. And again, it depends on the type of session. So there's general rules of thumb that people use when organizing sessions, and they generally try to emulate where things sit, and they give priority to what is prioritized in the music, right? So, for example, you'll notice that I have this setup in the structure of high to low from the orchestra, right? So it's grouped in as things would appear in the orchestra, right? Your flute's on top, like a score, all the way down. But I have different articulations in there. So I have the violin 1 legato concertino here. I have violin 2 pizzicato here, but it's in the violin 2 section, right? What you can do if it's really big session, like I know people who do sound design, and those sessions are just insane. Again, another guy, Jacob Collier, his sessions are massive, and he goes on YouTube for like hours and just talks about how he arranges and organizes his sessions. Like to get that would be thousands of dollars or pounds or whatever, euro, and it's there for free. So I would check some of his stuff out too. What you can do is you can group stuff into summing folders and stack folders, right? So say I wanted to take all the winds, okay, and I wanted to just have a section of winds, then I can add this to, I haven't done this in a long time, right? Summing folder, track folder. Where did they do this again? Okay, there's a track stack. Let's see if that works. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So create track stack. They've changed this, and then you can have a folder stack or a summing stack. I can't remember the difference between these two things, but I imagine they're effectively the same. So I can create that, and now this is organizing them into a drop-down folder. All right. Track stack. Yes. Okay. There it is. So you could do this. So imagine if you group it in sections. Say you've got your main your percussion, all of that together. Your bass, all of that together. Your mid register. You can divide it up in sonic spaces. Bass, mids, highs, whatever. You can if there's just I think Ansem said something about one track with just one sound on it. That might just be an auxiliary, like it's a bunch of stuff that doesn't really matter much, but it's just accumulation of maybe there's just one clap somewhere or something, just auxiliary stuff. So you would just organize your session in that way, and then so you're minimizing your real estate, and then if you need to I'm going to focus on the winds today or whatever in the mix, then you can just click on that and you've got all of your stuff sort of there. I don't know if that helps. Otherwise, buy a bigger monitor. Always helps, and have secondary monitors. So for example, your mix window isn't taking everything up. Of what I do is I go up here to window and I open up my mixer here, and then I drag that mixer across to another monitor. So I've got two monitors. Your iPad can do it as well, so that you're saving real estate for your main editing windows and that sort of stuff.
Now you're conjuring up an image now that you're a stockbroker up there, and you're
yeah. Well, you want to. This looks like the front desk of the Enterprise here.
Well, there's general agreement in the chat function that track stack is amazing.
Yeah.
Lifesaver, etc., etc. So we will go back to sort of what remains of Anselm's question, which is maybe not much. You say, Anselm, that you often end up with a huge number of tracks when you're working on a project, and sometimes with only one sound in a track because of the effects you're applying. Is there a way to condense this?
Yeah, well, I mean,
I've been talking about that really.
I think that's, I would just same idea here.
Yeah.
Number 2 is interesting here.
Yeah.
You want to read number 2 out?
Well, I thought that was being covered in Mary's, so
not quite. It's slightly different.
Anselm says, I apply a lot of effects to my tracks, but I've heard it's possible to set up an effect and then route multiple tracks through that effect. Okay. How is it done? And can the effect parameters be altered for individual tracks in this way?
Okay, so the original effects question was about just applying the effect to one particular part of the track. That's the automation. What Anselm's talking about here is called bussing. Okay, I know, I'm sorry if I'm insulting people who already know what this is. So again, if I go back to this track here, actually, if I pull up my mixer window, you can see that I have got these buses here. You see all these? So these are all reverbs that are being sent. Then the tracks are being sent. So you'll notice that none of my tracks have reverbs on them, and because it's a classical piece of music, I don't really need to do anything else to it. So what you'll notice here is that at this point here, the instruments change from the instruments that are making the music to these yellow ones. And you'll notice that these here have got an EQ plugin. So this is one of the EQ plugins I use. It's Spaces by East West. It's pretty good. Not amazing, but it's pretty good. The Logic stock one, the reverbs are pretty good there as well. Some nice convolution reverbs and things. So I have here a reverb track for winds, a reverb track for brass. It's to do with reflections. So for the amount of time that it takes for the sound to bounce off the wall and come back to where that instrument would be in a room. But they're all reverbs of the same room, right? If that makes sense. Harp, violins, and then cello and basses, right? So how do I do it? Just start from the start again. So I have a track. I have an audio track, and I want to bus a reverb to it, okay? Or it can be a delay, it can be a distortion, it can be anything you want. In fact, you can bus it to multiple effects. That's fine as well. This just saves CPU power. If you've got a reverb on every single track, that is going to drain the power of your computer. Whereas if you have just one reverb that everything gets sent through, it's so efficient, and it doesn't overload audio and or Logic, and Logic crashes, which it tends to do, but not as bad as Pro Tools. Here,
Conor Ryan says it is advising that summing stacks are perfect for sub-mixing groups of stuff.
Yes, yeah, that's all workflow and all very
exactly. But people are still interested in workflow. For example, Orlando Molina asks, have you any advice on how to properly save and organize projects?
Yeah. Okay, just let me get this buses thing out of the way.
Oh, sorry.
So say I have a track here. I've got some audio. It's called Guitar 1, whatever. Okay, so guitar track, whatever here. So what I do is this option here called Sends. It really should be called buses, but Sends, fine. I click on that and I go to bus here. And now this is giving me the option. So when you do this from the start, there'll be nothing here. It'll just be bus 1, which is track 1, channel 1, whatever. So imagine this is bus 1, right? So imagine bus 9 is actually bus 1. There's nothing else there, right? So I click on bus 9, and what it does is it creates an auxiliary track for me. Okay, can you see here? It says auxiliary 8. So I can then just go in and rename that. So say it's verb. Okay, so now this is my verb track, and then I select an effect. So say I want the reverb here. So spaces, reverb. Now the reverb's on. Okay, So then I can dial in how much reverb I want. So this is the drag signal. So this is something that I would advise, right? If you're dealing with reverbs, have no dry signal sent to the bus. So the dry signal is always 0 and the wet signal is always up, which means that the instrument that is going to the bus is not going at all. But what you're getting is the verb sent back to the instrument, which is what you want, because you want it. You don't want two versions of the source coming through, right? So then you've got your verb now been sent to it. I haven't actually dialed in a verb yet, so I just go in here and say I want I don't know, piano, large venue, San Francisco Hall, right? So then once I set that preset, it's going to take my dry back up. So pull that dry back down, pull the wet all the way up. And then what I want here is it gives me a little dial, and this can dial in the amount of send that I want to give it. So this is a little reverb, or this is a lot of reverb, which will sound like you're in, I don't know, an underground cave or something. So you gotta pull that back a touch. Same thing with delay, same thing with distortion, how much you want to send to the track. And you notice that I've done that. So here's bus. You'll notice that all the winds are going to bus 1, all the brass going to bus 2, the strings going, oh, I don't know why I've sent the strings to bus 1. I was getting lazy there. Bus 4, bus 5, whatever. All right, that's the general idea there. I hope that helps, Anselm.
That's great, Connor. And just to clarify, so the bus tracks will only appear in your mixer and not in your main.
Yeah, they'll only appear in the mix window. They'll not appear there. Okay. Yeah. So they're called auxiliary tracks. That's what the little AUX. That's what they'll appear as. Yeah. So then you rename them whatever you want. Give them a color, make it all look pretty.
I have one more question, but maybe can we finish that?
No.
Okay. This was about MIDI. So there's sometimes where I'm trying to create MIDI tracks, and maybe I've got a synth that's doing something specific, and I find it really horrendous trying to put tuplets into Logic. Like it just deals really badly with anything like quintuplets, septuplets, or nested tuplets. So kind of what I've ended up doing is like writing it in and then using the split tool to split it up. But I'm obviously kind of eyeballing that, and sometimes if I'm writing tracks that live players will be playing along with and it's all in quintuplets, it needs to be more accurate than that. So is there any way to kind of deal with that?
Right, okay, so imagine this is your MIDI track here, okay? So you want, I don't know, so say, what am I? I'm in 4, right? So say I just have this. And a really good way to do it, Alan, because you're so proficient in Sibelius, is do it in Sibelius, export the track as a MIDI, and then import that into Logic, and Logic will just clock it as it is in Sibelius. It won't do any of your crazy 20th century notation. It won't do any of that. But if you just gotta, just pull up a piano and notate your quintuplets as much as you want, whatever it is that you want to do that way, then export it. If you want, I can show you how to do that. And then drag the MIDI file into Logic, and it'll, boom, Bob's your uncle. It'll be perfect. But if you want to do it on the fly here, this is going to be extremely rough. So here, say this is something. This is I don't know, 8th notes here. No, 16th notes. And I want to make this a tuplet, right? So in this section over here, I can quantize it. So it's now quantized to 16th notes. I can drop down here, and I can give it into like triplets here. So it gives me the option. Again, it's not great, but it's a start. So say I want to make it into, I think this is just a 1, 2, 3 triplet. Oh no, that's not right. Let me just undo that. Okay, let me try again. 16th note triplet. Oh, I have to highlight it, and 16th note triplet. No, that's not working either. 32 note triplet. I don't know. That is what I would do here, but I don't know.
Well, actually, I never thought of your Sibelius thing, and actually that'd be so much better, because what I've been trying to do is kind of roughly what you're doing.
For any of that classical music, the modern classical stuff that's really complex rhythmically, if you're doing some Nancaro stuff that's in multiple tempi at the same time, I actually do have tracks that are based on his stuff, which if I had known this would have popped up, I would have had it there to go. But maybe we can do a follow up with some like the crazy like, you know, extended techniques and stuff and doing all that mad stuff in Logic. I didn't really intend to go there. But if you highlight here and then play around with this quantization in the triplet section here, you might be able to navigate to what it is that you're looking for. There, you know, tuplets over 8, you know, 16th triplets, you know. Maybe it's because it's so small that it's not recognizing it. You know, if I make these eighth notes instead here, you know. So say for example,
you have to click Q, don't you?
Hmm?
Do you not have to click?
Yeah, you can have
Q. You know, you get it to do it.
Yeah, you can do that, but you know, if I just want it to be, you know, quarter notes, there it is. Okay, so it snaps into the grid, and then I want to make these triplets. Then I can do that now. It's made it into triplets, right? Be very careful, guys, with hard quantization. It is a giant no-no in the music world unless you are making electronic music. You play it in. Always play it in if possible. It's a nightmare, but it makes the music so much better. That's what I'm doing here with the tempo. Is I'm shifting the tempo here around to imitate the performance of the. I have a reference track of the piece here, and I have mapped the tempo to the fluctuations in the tempo of the actual orchestra to create as close an imitation as I could. That's what's going on here. If I could play it in, I would.
Conor, should we open out the floor to any questions?
Yeah, I could go on here for the next 10 weeks.
There could be chatting, like as in pitch in if you know the answer to the question somebody else asked.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not a Google here.
Unmute your mic, and you know, if you want to. Anybody have any questions? Because we've lost a few people by now because we're on over an hour, but still, if anybody has any questions, and if not, I can't see everybody's face because we're obviously got in a shared screen situation. So anybody who has any question, just unmute and talk.
Conor, is there a way to, the question earlier about time signatures, I've done that before by selecting everything like one side of the playhead. Is there a way to do that on either side? So like selecting everything that's coming before the playhead and everything after, like in case you're trying to move like really large sections so that you don't have to click on everything.
So you mean you want to say you wanted to move all this here, right?
Yeah, along with the time signatures, or let's say for example, actually I wanted to move all of that you have there, including the tempo markings that you've got.
Okay, so I would just Command A, which is everything, and then drag it to where you want it to be, and then it shifts all of the meter, the changes as well. You see that? So everything goes. So Command A, that is everything. Does that answer your question?
Kind of. I was more wondering. So let's say, for example, you wanted to insert an extra bar in the middle of what you've got.
Yeah.
So is there a way to split it, select everything to one side of it, and then move it? So that
so again, I would Command A, select everything, and then Command T, splits it. Okay, and then you're gonna have to drag it that way and select it all, and then you drag that with your time signature changes. You click here as well, and you click all that, and you drag it. So that shift click and click that. And then if there was changes, tempo changes, meter changes here as well, you would shift click that so that everything is shifted, and then you drag it, and that'll all come, and then you've inserted your new bars here.
Perfect, thank you. I spent many minutes having to create it all again.
Yeah, no. There are sort of ways to get around most problems, but sometimes they require using programs elsewhere. Exactly like you do when you're creating scores in Sibelius. So again, for the stuff that more contemporary composers would write, using Sibelius and then bringing everything in for the structure is a really good methodology. So if you have your structure all sort of ready to go, and then you can manipulate the material in the session. But just applying 4 bars of 4, 4 bars of 5, whatever, and then exporting that as MIDI, dragging it in, it'll set it all up perfectly then, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's what I would do.
Fergus, did you want to come in there? Fergus?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I mean about Anselm, I think it was Anselm, was it? Asking about the selecting on either side of the playhead. I mean, you can also use the locators in the, the easiest way to access those is in the control bar. Is that what you call it? Let me just check.
These here?
The control bar display up at the top, where you can access the. Where are they? Sorry, I switched screens from it. I can't share my screen with you.
I can make you a co-host, and you can then share your screen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, okay.
I can stop sharing here. Yeah, sure.
Coming your way right now. Coming your way.
Oh, over there, and it's somewhere here. There's display left locator, and you can. That shows you where the left locator is. I wonder where there it is. There.
Sorry, Fergus, you're not sharing your screen yet.
You're a co-host, but you haven't shared your screen yet.
What do I have to do to share my screen?
At the bottom, there's an option to share screen, and it's just dead in the center.
Oh yeah, so there is share screen. Okay. Desktop 1, desktop Logic Pro X. There we are. That desktop. Okay. Have you seen that?
Yes, coming up now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, now I've got a menu over my menu. Damn, how do I get rid of that? How do I get rid of that there? Okay, so here you can choose your your left locator and your right locator here, and you can select that, and then you've got that thing that you were
that's your cycle region.
Selected. It's quite easy to use that too, and then you can do your you can set your playhead to there. I forget there's a little command for setting the playhead to there and doing your editing and cutting and so on, so that you can work with large pieces, large tracts of your score. Select those bits and just move them quickly without having to drag anything. I think. Am I right in saying you can do that, or am I on the wrong track here?
Yeah, you can totally do that for sure. Yeah, but it's not. It doesn't really solve the problem of moving stuff that already exists in the window, like the material itself. You're just that's basically just a loop that you've created. What I sort of suggest.
Having set that loop, having selected that area, you can then, I forget the command, the keyboard command, you can set the playhead to there, do your cut, set the playhead to your end, do your cut, and then just drag everything because it's all selected for you.
Yeah, I said it. Yeah, you can do that for sure, but you just select your playhead and cut it, drag it, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I was sort of getting at, except I didn't use the cycle option. Okay. I'm going to share.
Folks, if there's anybody else has any questions, can you just let me know? And if not, I will close up the session.
Just one thing that we never touched on was third-party stuff. All of the really cool. Just for example, here, I'm using for the flute here. I'm using the all these players, contact players, and stuff that's not Logic based, but is for Logic and stuff. So here's all the libraries and stuff that I own, and if there's so much more to talk about that this stuff could totally go on forever. But this is getting into all this stuff under the hood here, and getting into all that stuff, because now is Black Friday and all this stuff is on sale.
Conor, that's a perfect segue for me to talk about the other sessions, because Anselm McDonald gave one on Sibelius, and he's going to do a subsequent session on the 19th of November, because indeed, there's in these sessions, people put aside about an hour and then they have to leave, as you can see. So there's every chance we'll do a follow-up session if there's demand for it, Conor, and I see my colleague Keith Fennell giving the thumbs up. So Keith, if you support me, get budget for it. This is my second series. The first one was in July, and it included Sibelius notation and most of the online performances. It's all up on YouTube, and the Sibelius one got a colossal number of hits, really a phenomenal number of hits on our YouTube. So we're doing number 2 on the 19th, but also Anselm is bringing Lily Harris, a composer friend of his in London, and she's going to do an introduction to Dorico in that same session. And it's, I think we're calling it Sibelius 2, but in fact, I think I'll take out the 2, Anselm, because that suggests it's advanced. Whereas these are clinics. We've set them up as clinics so that you bring your questions. There's a little intro in the beginning because you need to bring some people around. We don't want to exclusively have them for advanced people or not advanced people. We just want to have them open forums, if you like. But in between that and this, on the 12th of November, our wonderful pianist, Xenia Pestova-Bennett, is going to do a session on breathing for anxiety and calm, and if you want to join that. And then we're going to wrap up with Rob Farhat, who's going to talk about developing audiences. So that's this session. But if we have a series 1 in 2020, Conor, and there's demand for another Logic clinic, happy to do that as well.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, an hour is so little to get.
An hour is very little, but the truth of the matter is, I had a lot of CPD classes as a lawyer, and I can tell you, an hour is how much people will sign up for.
Yeah,
sign up for 3 hours, but that's not saying we can't set up an open forum, like our coffee catch-up, and people just shoot their questions in. Yeah. But this is open to anyone in the world, and we've had people from Brazil and everywhere, so you have to have some sort of format. But look. Sure. If people want to write in an email after, say, you know, that was good, I'll put it to management, won't I, Keith? And I'll have you on my side. And Jonathan has put some nice things in about it too. And I know that Keith and Jonathan use this for our Amplified podcast and our many other CMC salons, which is on at 6 o'clock tonight. So I want to make sure that you can see Ian Wilson's launch of his CD, 6 p.m. CMC director Yvonne Ferguson is going to be doing the launch. And just a little promo there, including for all our sessions. On the behalf of the Contemporary Music Centre in Dublin, I want to thank Conor O'Boyle for a fantastic session, and hopefully many more to come, Conor. And we're delighted at the centre to be able to have these clinics and more of this. As I say, I will send out to everybody who registers this Conor's PowerPoint very shortly. And tune in for the other sessions, CMC, CPD. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thanks.